Hey guys, welcome to the Smart Venture Podcast. In each episode, we're going to have conversations with some of the top investors, superstar founders, as well as well-known tech company executives in Silicon Valley. We'll have a coffee chat with them to learn their way of thinking and actionable tips on how they build or invest in a successful company. Before we start our show today, I want to make sure the listener, aka you, understand that everything a person say on the podcast only reflects hers or his own opinion, not the show or the company they work at. Our guest today is the president of learning services at Chegg. He focuses on the execution of Chegg's existing learning services business and its global growth strategy. He started his career at Chegg as the Director of Business Development and Product Management. Prior to joining Chegg, he worked in several sectors of the publishing industry and was responsible for developing a business intelligence platform that is used in higher education industry for monitoring sales and adoption trends. His name is Nathan Schultz. This episode is the first part of the conversation with Nathan. We'll focus on how Nathan transitioned from traditional business into tech and his personal and career growth early on in his career. Welcome to the show, Nathan.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Nathan, you have a quite interesting path to tech. You studied history and worked in traditional publishing. Can you tell us more about how you grew up and how you got into tech?
Absolutely. So I'm probably not I definitely didn't take I would say the typical path. I was a history and English major in college, destined for a wonderful legal career, and then decided that was not the path I was going to go down. I returned to where I grew up, which is Boston, and fell into the publishing world, which is a extremely traditional business, and at the time not very tech driven. But I was fortunate enough to fall into a group at Pearson, Pearson Education, that was tech focused, and it kind of lit a fire under me, and really started to challenge some of the ways that we were selling into teachers, and we were meeting the market with product and evolving the products and into products that were closer to the technology solutions we have today. And that started to build a personal interest in what could technology do, as we wanted to scale our educational experiences to be more one-to-one students. Ultimately, I realized that that the publishers, it was hard for them to make a move to that model, because that model was potentially cannibalistic to their base business model. But it was the inspiration for what could technology do for the learner really started at my time when I started in traditional publishing.
Very cool. When you were transitioning your career from working in traditional publishing to the tech industry, I assume there was a big risk. The path was not necessarily the most obvious. What made you pull the switch? Also, what do you see as a trend in the space?
Well, the written form will never be dead, and nor should it be dead. It's a very valuable form of content. It's a very wonderful way for learning. The reality is that it's this one size fits all thing that we call a biology, intro to biology book is not the best way to teach intro to biology. When you're talking about the multitude of learning styles that we have out there with our students and with our kids. So what I see in the future is this continued push to a blended model. Where it is technology driven, it is assessment first, and we'll talk much more about that, I'm sure, throughout the day. And it is supported by a range of content options. Some of them can be written, some of them can be video, some of them could be a simulation or assessment based. but it will never. We are well beyond a one size, go to the bookstore, buy your 4 books, go to your classes kind of model.
Yeah, going back to personal development, you have a successful career in both traditional and digital learning space. What do you see as the characteristic that you have that you peers don't that make you more successful?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to come down to a host of things. So from the personal standpoint, it comes to just sheer curiosity. I don't have a traditional learning background. At Pearson, I was able to, and at other publishing companies, I was able to explore those curiosities and learn from some really fascinating and very smart people. And then as I got into technology, the same kind of thing happened where I wasn't a technologist. I didn't go to school for computer science, but I was able to in the small teams that we had at Chegg in the early days, everyone played every single role. So we were able to, you sat next to an engineer, you talked all day long to the engineer, they described their problems, you described your problems. You were able to really work on business things together. And so from a personal standpoint, it was always curiosity that lit the spark for me in order to either learn what a new model could be, or learn a new skill, be that skill, frankly, a business skill, or be that a skill that would allow me to be more of a technologist. But what really made Chegg successful, and all of it was successful, was the team itself. I mean, it was the mission around the team. So Chegg's got this amazing mission, which is all about putting students first, right? At the time I was much younger when I first joined the company. So it was very easy to resonate with this mission after coming out of traditional higher education, both undergraduate and graduate, and as well as publishing, and understanding just how far removed that end consumer really was. And what drew me to Chegg in the first place was, this is fantastic. This is a company that's going to disrupt a space that needed to be disrupted, based on the business model and based on their continued reliance on price increases to make their quarters, and turn it and get the opportunity to interact with students at a much, much deeper level. We always had the mantra of necessarily being student first. First, it was this concept of helping students save time, save money, and get smarter. And then we just evolved that nicely into, we are here to be a student first organization. We are here to help students as they path themselves through their academic journeys. So, as an individual perspective, it always starts with curiosity for me, and then that curiosity starts to build into more of a driving passion. And it's been that way for the last 12 years at Chegg. I wake up every day thinking how lucky I am. I get to work in such an industry and positively affect the lives of millions and millions of learners, not just in the United States, but around the world. But then really what makes it happen is never an individual. It is always a team of great people. And it is always a team that's driven by a very simple mission. Our mission is not complex. Our mission is simple. And it's easy. It's easy to understand. It's easy to see in our daily work. As a result, you just build amazing teams around you.
Wow, that's a really thorough answer. Speaking of joining Chegg, how did you first encounter the team? What was your thought on them? I saw after working in publishing, at one point you also started a cafe. Curious, what made you decided to quit your successful cafe to join Chegg?
Well, the whole cafe thing was a side venture I did while I was at Chegg. I just thought it would be fun to own a restaurant. For all your listeners out there, it is not fun to own a restaurant. I'll just tell you that right now. It is a funny story on how I actually met the Chegg team. And it was one that, sometimes in life things happen for a reason. And I feel this is one of those moments. And now the question is, what do you do? What do you do when those moments happen? And I think that is what defines your life and your career. I was actually at the time in business school, or actually in a graduate program for finance, because I came out of college with a history and English degree, and I was I was quickly in the business world and realized that I was underskilled from a business perspective, and needed to actually understand what a P&L was and all the fun things around finance and economics. And so in accounting. So I went back to school, and at the time though, I was working for a company that sold actually business intelligence. And so we sold basically data about books. Nothing much more interesting than that. And I was running a sales team over there, and a sales rep got a phone call, and the sales rep came in my office and said, "There's a gentleman on the phone. Can't understand him. He's talking very fast. I think he wants to buy data in academics, and can you talk to him?" I said, "Peter, patch him through. I'll talk to him." It turned out that the person on the other end of the phone was none other than Osman Rashid, who was the original founder, one of the co-founders of Chegg. We had a pleasant conversation, and about 25 minutes after I hung up with him, my cell phone rang, and I pick up my cell phone, said, "Hello, Nathan speaking." And he says, "Nathan, it's Osman." And I said, "Osman, I didn't give you my cell phone number, so how'd you get my phone number?" And he said, "Well, I called Peter, who was the sales rep who came to my office, and Peter gave me my sales number." And my first thing in my head is like, I'm telling Peter to never give him my cell phone number out again. Right? And he said, "I want to offer you a job." And I said, "Okay, well, it's Thursday. Why don't we talk this weekend?" Because I was already at the time, I was on a work contract, and I was finishing my work contract. So I said, "All right, I'm interested. It was fascinating. We had a great conversation prior when I actually took the phone call from Peter. I loved the model of what they were doing. I understood the model of what they were doing. And I loved the entrepreneurial nature of it. And so I said, let's have a phone call on Saturday. That Saturday in 2007 would have been probably November. They offered me the job, and literally about a month later, I was on an airplane and living in a hotel in California for 6 months.
Nice.
And I never looked back. And that's why I say it's a lot. Yes, there's always a little bit of luck in everything, right? There's the opportunity, being in the right place at the right time. But the question really becomes, what do you do at that moment when that opportunity presents itself? I chose to jump. Not knowing knowing as much as I could know, right? I did as much research as I could do, but this was a Series A company, and had very little operating history. I just decided that it was an exciting opportunity to disrupt an industry that needed to be disrupted. I knew that I could have an impact at the organization, so that was important to me at the time. I was single, so I didn't really have the weight of life on me. I'm sure as now a father of two, and we probably make a different decision. But at the time, it was I'm tired of East Coast winters, and I'm ready for a little bit of sunshine. And so California, here I come.
Yeah, I like that you just took a chance on the opportunity. In terms of doing the background check, what do you see in this company made you decide to jump in?
Well, it was truly the most amount of research I could do was conversations with the founders. I could have reached out to some of the investors on the seed round investors, as well as the Series A investor, which was I think Mike Maples at the time. But they would have told me all good stuff, because they invested in the company, and they invested in the company because they thought this company was amazing. So I really spent my time with the co-founders and spent a lot of time trying to understand their vision, as well as what their knowledge level was. Because I was coming in with a very particular set of skills. Like they needed to set up a buying operation. They needed partnerships with the largest distributors and publishers. I had just spent the last 5 years of my life building a company that we sold that did that stuff, that did the data side behind it. I had all the relationships with these publishers. I had relationships with the distributors. So it was very easy knowing what they needed. I said, well, I know I can be successful already because my relationships that I have with these people. But now I need to make sure that these co-founders aren't irrational, don't have goals that are just too far beyond reality. And then what really drew me though was something that Osman said, I knew, I was like, yeah, you got it, which was, this was the way where we started for Chegg was never going to be the end game. It was just going to be the start. It was just going to be the first inning. We knew textbooks was not always, especially in the early days, a particularly great model. It was very cash consumptive. It relied on physical infrastructure, a warehouse. It relied on human intervention with shipping, and it relied on all the things that carry lots of costs to it and don't necessarily scale as much as a digital infrastructure does. But Osman said, this is round one. What students need is so much more than this. We don't know what it is yet. And it wasn't until Dan Rosenzweig, now CEO of Chegg, came in and laid out his vision and helped us see the full potential, where we're like, yeah, when we knew we wanted to go there, Dan gave us the path to get there.
For sure. Thank you for sharing this very detailed version of how you got into Chegg. Sounds like you were really impressed by the founding team. What do you see as their strengths that you don't have, or your strengths that they don't have, that make you guys a good team? When it comes to building your own team, what characteristics do you look for when it comes to building your own team?
Yeah, and I have a mantra, and I know it's a cheesy or corny one, and a lot of people have it as well, but I always I say it to my team, and I say I love all of you, because you're way smarter than I am, and that's the goal of a good manager, of hiring people that are literally smarter than you. Right? Great managers have no hubris about who the smartest person in the room is, and I want that person to be the people that work for me and the people that work for them. That means we're building a great team through and through, and it's not just about reliance on one individual or a series of individuals. I always kind of look for the same mix of things. One is use of data, like people's analytical skills, and it's not just about can you crunch the numbers. It's about can you make conclusions as a result of crunching the numbers or looking at a series of facts, and are those conclusions then that you make, are they supported by that data, or are they still, many people will look at data and they'll still make suggestions or assumptions based off of their own heuristics, or off their own their own gut feel, if you will, as heuristics. In this case, I've always looked for people that crave the intelligence around what's happening in the experience, either be a product experience or in the back end experience, if it be more of an operational thing, and letting the data, find the path. Is the first kind of bit of curiosity I always look for people, and then decisiveness. It's been a tradition of Chegg, a mantra of Chegg, a motto of Chegg, that we are a debate, decide, and do culture. We are not a debate, decide, debate, decide, debate, decide. We are a debate, decide, do. And so I look for people that were analytical, people that use the data appropriately. And then once we did make a decision, and you're never going to make a decision that everybody agrees with. It's always, you're going to have always some degrees of gray in people's minds. It's about finding people that will go on that mission with you, even if they don't fully agree with you. And so we've always said, we'll never have people that want to carry around a pocket veto and say, well, I know we decided that path, but I wasn't really in favor of that. No, we've always been a management team. We've always been a leadership team. We've always been a company that once we decide on a path, we're going to go fully at that path together, not as individuals, but as a single team. And so I've always looked for people that have that personality, and not the people that are always willing to say, well, it didn't work because I told you it didn't work. The only reason it didn't work is because we got in our own way, because we made it too complicated, or we misread the data. We didn't miss it because a series of people didn't do their job. We missed it because we misread the market. And so I always look for people that were going to be on that mission with us. And the result has been hiring a series of wonderful, wonderful people that have been with many of my team have been with me for over 10 years now. So it's been a phenomenal time.
You mentioned that some people on your team worked with you and the company for over 10 years. How do you motivate people to stay within the company?
Out of curiosity. Yeah, no, everyone's got a little bit of a little bit different way they get motivated.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple of things that I always think are important in that. One is continuing to repeat the mission that we're on, right? If you're not at your core motivated by our mission to be student first and to build tools and services that are going to be on the side of students, then regardless of what I do for you, whether it be a financial thing or whether it be a promotional thing or whether it be an exposure in the company thing, you're not going to be motivated to do your best. And so what I always find is we've got to continuously talk about the context of why we do things, and how do those things that we do relate back to the larger mission. And so motivation for me doesn't start with an individual. It starts with making sure my entire team and their entire teams know what we're doing and why we are doing it. That's first off, the most critical component. Beyond that, it comes down to setting obtainable but stretch goals, right? There's no victory in setting stretch goals that you do not make by a mile, right? All that does is demoralize a team, right? And for you as a leader, it just makes it seem like you're not in touch with reality if you're setting goals that no one can hit. So it's about one, setting context. Two, it's about setting realistic yet stretch goals because we should be stretching for these goals. Three, it's about celebrating both successes and failures, right? And teams want to know that it's okay to miss, and it is okay to miss, especially when we're trying to reach for the aspirations that we have. I mean, when we started, we were trying to, improve the lives of 21 million college students. Now we're well beyond that. We're trying to improve the lives of 80+ million college students around the world. Right. And even more than that in other countries as we continue to expand. Right. So how do we get to a point where we're helping 200 to 300 million college students? So you're always going to have goals out there you may not hit, but that's okay. And so so motivating them is showing that what you're really interested in is us being one as a team, us innovating, us experimenting, us testing. And then finally, I think that motivation for especially for junior or younger people in the organization is about helping them understand how they continuously move up the chain, right? Because where I think companies fail sometimes is they don't spend enough time talking about what it means and what it takes to be promoted, or what it means or takes to be in a role of responsibility. And so those are, any combination of those things is what I can constantly use as a way to continuously make sure, one, my team is fully informed and their teams therefore can be fully informed, and two, that we're all kind of rowing in the same direction as we try to reach for our goals.
Totally. You mentioned about having a mission, setting realistic goals, celebrating success and failure, and giving young people a plan to help them to move up. Those are really great tips, especially having a stretchable but realistic goal that really resonate with me when a lot of people keep mentioning going after really big dreams. I think it's really important to have the step-to-step goals and reality check from time to time. When you started your career at Chegg, it was a Series A company. It went through IPO back in 2013 and now dominating the education space. Chegg has been growing really fast. It went through multiple stages. What's your day-to-day like when you first joined the team to now working as the president of learning services?
It's interesting. Obviously, the day-to-day has changed, right? Obviously, I'm not in the same level of details in terms of the minutia of the operation as I was back in 2008 when the question was, where are we going to open a warehouse? And it wasn't going to be the storage closet in our rented office, right? It was going to have to be some facility that could fit millions and millions of units of textbooks. And but back to the last thing around culture and context and transparency, those haven't changed a single bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was my role then. It was just a small organization. There was 8 of us in an office
Mm-hmm.
on Great America Avenue in Santa Clara, and now there are 1,700 plus employees around the world. And so, what has changed the most is helping people understand the vision. In 2008, the vision was help students save time and save money by renting textbooks. In 2013, it was starting to lay out a digital vision. Actually, earlier than that, more like 2011 and 12, was start to lay out a digital vision that could transition Chegg from being a textbook rental company into a student services company, into a learning services company, into an organization where our revenue was dominantly digital, which obviously it is today. In 2018, it was about the acquisitions we were making and how do they tie into the greater mission. So my role is, and people below me have stepped up to fill those voids, has been around operational capacities into more strategic capacities, into it's sometimes storyteller, right? Because that's our job as executives, is to make sure everyone understands that story and can get behind that story. So in some cases it's changed dramatically, and lots of up and out and strategy and talking with companies and talking with presidents of universities to understand what students are going there, and sometimes it's the same old stuff that I was doing in 2008 when I joined, about helping the team understand why we're doing it and what we're doing and what defines success and stuff like that.
When you joined Chegg, you worked as the Director of Business Development and Product Management. Later on, you worked as the VP of Supply Chain and Content Management to Chief Content Officer and Chief Learning Officer. Now you're the President of Learning Services. You've really been through multiple job functions within the organization. During these career switches, what do you think is the top 3 skills that help you to succeed in each role?
Yeah, it's a phenomenal question. One thing, and I don't think this is a unique skill at all. I think everyone has this. Again, I think it ties back to some of that concept of curiosity. But I've always been one to not settle on what we've done in the past as the way we're going to continue to work in the future. And then probably the thing that's propelled me the most is simply asking for it. Right. I've never been one that said, like, I wanted, as you can see with all the roles, I've never been one where I've said, like, I'd love to spend 5 years doing this. I want to go in there. I set personal goals for myself and for the team around me. As I hit those goals, I'm always asking, okay, what's next? And I'm not just asking people to tell me what's next. I'm asking myself what's next. What do I want for myself, as well as what is it? What's best for the organization? I was fortunate enough to lean a lot on research, and early on I can constantly lean on research. It's one of the things I advise people on when they're developing their product strategy, is how much research have you done? And if it's just, doing, it has to be a mixture of quant and qual, and it's got to really be deep, and it's got to have some large numbers behind it to have any real statistical significance. And then what do you obviously do with that research was one of the more important parts. But I saw this trend of what I call self-directed education not stopping. Students were not going to stop turning to the internet. Schools were just going to continue to deny that it was happening. Right? Faculty was going to continue to deny that they were not the only source of education for students. And with every single new freshman class, you got a new wave of students that never grew up with an iPhone, that never grew up with Netflix, that never grew up with on-demand entertainment. And so why wouldn't education be anything different? And it was once I realized that I just kept going to Dan, who kept giving me phenomenal opportunities, saying, no, we can do more. We can do more. We can do more. And, so I always encourage people, and if you've got the fire in the belly and you believe you have a way through, it's never going to turn out the way you thought it was going to turn out, but you can still get to the same destination, right? You can still get there. Just don't think it's going to be the straight line that you put there. It's going to be something that have some twists and turns, but I just kept asking for, well, I think we should, not just asking, I kept showing, I think we should be doing more here, and here's why. And that just opened up more and more doors, right?
For sure. All right, that's all we have for today. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Smart Venture Podcast. In the next episode, we'll cover more towards how Nathan navigates the leadership role and learn more about his management journey. Don't forget to come back on Wednesday for the second part of the conversation with Nathan. If you like it, please leave us a quick review and hit subscribe so you don't miss any tips from the experts. If you want to receive our updates, please leave your email at smartventurepod.com. If you want to connect with me, all my socials are at Grace Gong GG. Beside LinkedIn, it's just Grace Gong. I'd love to connect with you and let me know your thought about the show. Now you can also listen to Smart Venture Podcast on YouTube. Go to smartventurepod.com, click YouTube link on the top banner. Don't forget to hit subscribe and smash the like button. See you next time.